children. Somehow,
So, in other
some
words-
evolutionary whatever, whether God did it, whatever, or a random mutation, whatever you want, something happened that the male figured out. That one's mine,
Mm-hmm.
and began investing in that one because it was his.
So you're talking about the breakdown from the herd or tribal
We're all,
mentality
everybody's screwing, and somebody
to a family unit, to
Well,
a
because-
mom, dad, kids,
well, because the male just recognized that one's mine.
right, and wanted to put more into that one than he did everybody else's.
Right, because like in a chimp pack, I'll be blunt, everybody fucks everybody, and the males really don't know who their children are. They recognize that the children are part of the pack.
The collective, the herd, or whatever.
The human male, without any instruction from the Bible or any social construct, recognizes that child is his.
Yeah,
And that so profoundly, it changes everything about his behavior.
yeah,
And one of the things that has been noted since then, and one of the indicators of what they call paternal investment, the male invests in his offspring, paternal investment is the male takes on a pedagogical role. And as teacher, and he naturally feels the urge to teach the child. And he also naturally likes teaching other men, by the way, and women.
younger men, yeah.
But it's like an instinct that's built in him.
Mm-hmm.
I will have wisdom and I will give it to you. Now, moms do the same. I'm not saying they don't.
Yeah.
But all of this is built in. This is not a neat idea. And like Jesus didn't say so in the Bible. No. It's also fundamental. In fact, look at the Bible and read it if you're religiously inclined. And if you're an atheist and mad at me, just shut up. Theists and atheists can find areas of agreement, right? If you're biblically inclined, look at your Bible and notice it never does it prescribe. Well, it does say something about Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes right down to it, it doesn't prescribe this role to men. You just see it all over the place. It just keeps happening.
Mm-hmm.
What are the patriarchs of the Bible? They are wealthy, prosperous men whose sons and their wives live with him.
Yeah.
It's not the rule.
It wasn't the law. It wasn't. This is the way it's supposed to be.
No. It just was happening.
Yeah.
What they call a patriarch, they spit on the idea of a patriarch. All a patriarch was a man who had accumulated resources to keep his kin good. And it was just expected that his children and his grandchildren would still be living with him.
Yeah.
And that's actually the human pack structure. You look at it from culture to culture and through the whole archaeological record. Men know who their children are. And what's more interesting is that pick a culture, any culture, unless some external factor is, some genocide recently fucked them up or something. Another quirk of human beings is we know who our grandparents are, and our grandparents care about us.
Yeah.
So that's not just paternal and maternal investment, a weird trait of all cultures. Our grandparents know and love us.
Yeah.
And that's profound when you realize that as a species, that's part of us too. And that's one of the reasons I start
And you don't see that anywhere in the animal kingdom, do you?
There may be some other species that has grand paternal investment, but I haven't come across it. If somebody knows, I want to hear because it would be cool to know. In fact, if I were to pick a species where I thought it happened, it'd be groundhogs. Total guess out of the blue, don't laugh. I just pulled that out of my ass, and I could spend 10 minutes explaining why. But I don't think that's it's an unusual trait of humans, and all humans have it. They recognize their grandparents, and grandparents are intensely interested in their grandchildren.
Yes, absolutely.
Which, if you were to simplify that, and you say it's all selfish gene, well, if it's all selfish gene, then those grandchildren are what, 1/4 of them? And that's so the wrong way to look at it, because grandparents love their grandchildren.
Oh, yeah. Well, back to that traditional family.
The Bible didn't tell them to do that. They just do.
No, that's right. But back to the traditional family that we were talking about a while ago, is that, grandparents, parents, and then children.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma, being an older lady, not able to do what she would do when she was young, helps the mom with the kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Grandpa is out there helping the dad, with, and the kids are out there with them, and they're working together because Grandpa can't do what he used to could.
Yeah.
And so the dad can, and he's helping.
Grandpa can't do what he used to could.
Yeah.
You, sir, are not at all Southern.
Oh, no, of course not. Grandpa can't do what he used to could now, let me tell you.
I'm sorry. I actually love the. Go ahead.
It's just, that's the way it was because we've talked about this before, that your retirement was your children.
Yeah.
Your children took care of you.
Yeah.
And that is in the Bible, actually. Because
well, there's some obligations there. You're right there. And but again, I think that's almost like the Bible reminding people what you're supposed to be doing.
Well,
just like if you ask me, I think every human being is born knowing you're not supposed to kill somebody.
Yeah.
And so when you read that in the Bible, you already agreed with it.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things in religious traditions in general, whether it's the Bible or anything else, that are like things you kind of already knew anyway.
Yeah.
And but it's good to reinforce them.
Right, but it was in the Bible that, and this is the way I heard it, that back in the old days it was like, that a lot of times they would cast the elderly aside because they couldn't care for them, and it was like, no, you need to stop doing that. You need to take care of them.
In fact, in some cultures, it was known, a person was old and being too much of a burden. It was sort of expected that we're going to take them out and leave them in a field and say goodbye and just leave.
Yeah.
And that's a horror. That's
horrible.
In a lot of cultures,
Yeah.
and it was good when religious traditions would at least say, it'd be best if you not do that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, really. But but your children were your retirement.
Yep.
And it went down every generation like that. Mm-hmm. And so that is the traditional family. Now, the Industrial Revolution came along, and people started spreading out. Son would move away with his new wife and start his family way over there, and everything, and all of that broke apart. And I think that being that even breaking down of the traditional family has probably had some negative effects on society.
In fact, here's something, and I don't know, we're here in a hotel room, maybe that matter or not. My friends, Allison Tiemann, Karen Strong, Hannah Wallen, I'd like you to examine this question.
Honey Badgers, listen up.
Honey Badgers, no, I really want you to examine this question, and in a serious way. I really believe, and I want them to what they say. There was a reason 1950s housewives felt claustrophobic and constrained, and that therefore the rise of somebody like Betty Friedan was inevitable. And if you accept that the clustered, suffocated, frustrated housewife and the woman who was being forced into that mold was the rise of feminism, does it not naturally follow that at some level society was failing them? Because I think that if you look at all the 1950s, 50s, 60s, 70s feminists, most of them just fit the mold I just said. They were women who had some legitimate grievances with society. Mm-hmm. And maybe the real problem was, in some ways, it wasn't other men and women saying, you have a point, but you're going too far. You're not thinking at all. Which is what I think Warren Farrell was coming from when he was doing his work in the 1970s. He started with that, ladies, you have some good complaints, but, and let's talk about the buts, because there's a lot of buts here.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to hear it, but still, maybe it was inevitable that with the rise of that whole mentality of this is who you must be, that the women would be the first nonconformists. And maybe they were nonconforming in the wrong way, but basically I'm saying feminism was inevitable.
I've heard the Honey Badgers talk about that feminism seems to be a product of progress. That it gets to a point where it's just going to happen.
Yeah. They've already answered it, and I'm not giving enough credit because I do think there's a real sense of it. Because even when I look at the early, most influential thinkers like Betty Friedan and I'm forgetting the French one, and Shalom Firestone, they'll come. Most of them while they were mostly wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
they all came up hard. They had abusive backgrounds, or they were felt they were being forced into roles. That's just not who I am. That's not who I want to be. Which, by the way, is a struggle a lot of men could relate to.
Yeah.
Wasn't it kind of natural that some class of woman would be the first, because women are the first to complain about everything?
True. Yeah.
And
that's
so-
the best way society's worked.
And so even when we get mad at the feminists, maybe we could also take some ownership as men and say, but men were too chicken shit to say, hold on.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. This is all our fault. We could have put a stop to this a long time ago if we just had the balls to do it.
Because to stop to it is just the insanity, right? Not
No,
yes,
no.
you got a good point there. You ought to be able to own your own home. Okay. You need to give up on X, Y, and Z because
Yeah.
that would be fair.
Yeah, exactly.
And men were just too protective or thoughtless or whatever.
No, hold on to that thought. I want to clarify something for for people that are watching this. When you say give up on X, Y, and Z, you're saying you, by the current arrangement, you have this privilege,
Yeah.
but you want to own your own home. Let's say the privilege of any debts that you accumulate are the responsibility of your husband.
You have to surrender that.
You have
because
to surrender that privilege of not being responsible for your own debts if you want to own your own home.
That's right. Or
And
have a
that's what
mortgage
he
in
was.
your
I
life.
think that's what
Yeah.
you were meaning by X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Because in fact, the whole institution of the man, it will fall natural to the man, was mostly a matter of convenience anyway.
Well,
Literally convenience, because
Yeah.
you could talk about him like he's a tyrannical king who could just give away the family home anytime he felt like it. Like, what guy ever did that?
Well, I don't know. There may be something lost in a poker game or
But-
something. Yeah.
Well, they get things can happen. But anyway, the point is, yeah, it was mostly a matter of convenience. It just made the most sense. You're a family unit. Whose name we're going to put on everything? Oh, you.
Yeah.
You
But-
know,
but you-
acting like it was all just possessiveness. No, it didn't work like that because
No.
the man had so many legally enforceable obligations that his wife could mess him up that it
Oh,
was
yeah.
mostly a deal everybody thought made sense. All
Yeah,
right,
it
I'll
wasn't-
be Mrs. Okay.
It
Yeah.
wasn't fair. It was unfair to both, but it had to be the way it was for the time.
It just made sense.
Yeah.
It just made sense.
Yeah.
And actually, even on something as trivial as changing your last name, when you get right down to it, ask how many women they deeply care about that. Mostly they don't, and mostly they think getting to change their name is cool.
Yeah.
But if they don't want to, okay.
My wife said she's just, no, I want to change my name to yours. She's going to take me a while. Take me a while to get used to signing Barnes on the end, but yeah.
Sure. Well, and let me actually point something out to you. We act like the woman taking your name
Yeah.
is like some kind of submission she did to you. Like some kind of
Your feminists think that.
well, yeah, but that's right. And like that's something she gave to you, and it does give you something. But my wife uses my name, and it does mean something. It makes me feel good that she does.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's not so much her surrendering. It is somewhat her surrendering identity, but you know what it also is? You surrendering some of your identity to her.
Yeah. Because
Your name is a gift to her. Your name is, you're part of me. Even if you fuck up really bad, you're part of me. So
Yeah.
that is not an ownership thing. It is a sharing thing. And I'm not saying every woman has to do it. And if you feel different as a man or whatever, but we need to stop. Even something as simple as that, feminists get wrong. They think it's like some taking ownership thing, when it is actually just as valid to express it as a man giving something of himself to her.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
surrender he's given to her in a way. You are me now.
Yeah. It was, you're a part of my family now.
Yeah.
You're
As
like
much
in
as
the
my
case of-
sister, as much as my brother, as much as my
Right.
as much as my mom or dad.
Yeah. I mean, my wife is a Barnes now.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
you know, and
And that's a gift.
Yeah.
That's a giving as much
And
as it
it's-
is any kind of taking.
yeah, you know, of course, I don't know. I don't see that it's a taking.
Well-
I mean, let me redo that. It's not. You're right. It's not her losing anything. She's not losing anything.
She's losing a little something. She's no longer a Smith or a Jones or whatever.
Well, no,
but
no,
she's gaining something so much.
She's exchanging.
Yeah, and in a
that's what
big
it is.
way. And in a
It's
big
an
way.
exchange.
Because her own kin right now aren't going to abandon her anyway in most cases. So she's like just picked up this big bonus legacy. Because
Right.
she's a Barnes now.
Yeah, and her mom and daddy doesn't care what her last name is now. It
No,
doesn't
of
mean
course they
anything.
don't.
And I've got a daughter. It's not going to mean anything. Which
But someone's going to hear this conversation and think it's a big a defense of like we should all do that tradition. Look, hey man, you want to do it different, do it different.
yeah,
It's fine, okay? It's whatever you want. You want to keep whatever you want to do. If some guy out there wants to take his woman's name, okay. Like I'm going to get in line and pick at you and say you can't do that, right? But I think the deeper thing that looking at something like that is that the feminist analysis, and the reason we talk about it so much is because the feminist analysis is almost automatically the most hateful possible interpretation of anything. So while you could say, for example, that the woman changing her name is a sort of giving up a submission, in another way, it's like, no, it's a huge concession by the man. It's an enormous concession by the man.
Yeah, he's bringing her. I'm giving you my last name. That's something I'm proud of, and I'm giving it to you.
That's my whole heritage. That's my kin.
Yeah.
You're my blood now, flat out.
Yeah.
And so stop pretending that that's an oppression of women. You can say it's not what your comfortable expression. But stop pretending that's an evil thing. And it's like that with so much of feminist analysis. It's like they take what is perfectly healthy and turn it awful. The male gaze. We like looking at boobies. Okay.
Damn right.
We like looking at boobies. Okay, that's oppression of women. Fuck you.
And how do tell me?
And that's a hurtful assertion. Is the thing? It's a hurtful assertion.
It's an attack on the very essence of who we are as straight men. It's attack on it. It is no different than racism. It's not. It's sexism, is what it is.
Because I just can't like looking at the movies. I can't like looking at the ass, and that makes me bad.
Well, I mean, show me a heterosexual woman out there who doesn't want to look at a guy's ass.
Well, most do. In
Yeah.
fact, that's the number one physical trait women go for is the butt.
Yeah.
Not the cock size. They go for the butt.
Right,
They like them.
And also chest muscles. They like that.
They like
chest.
that. They like that, and that's okay. But and we also recognize the reality that women are more attracted to status symbols than men are.
Right, strength,
and
all that. Yeah.
And is he strong? Is he wealthy? Is he whatever? They look for that.
Protector provider thing.
And if you're taking a real negative view of females, you'd say they're all just these hypergamous wenches who are just grasping for what. But no, we just recognize. This is a thing.
Yeah.
Girls are attracted to the idea of power, status, and wealth. They are. They can also have realistic expectations, just like I know I'm not going to fuck 14 Playboy bunnies this year, even though that might be fun to contemplate for 5 minutes. I actually probably wouldn't like it in reality, but that's a little fantasy, right?
You go back to it. That's just like the rape fantasy. Women fantasize about it, but it's the old lizard brain, if you want to call it that.
Right.
Where
It's a fantasy.
Where sexuality
It's a
resides.
fantasy.
It's a fantasy.
And by the way, a lot of guys are into the idea of femdom, which is the girl forcing him into submission. The guys
that's
have
a rape
that.
fantasy.
It is actually.
Yeah.
It is, and maybe you're going to say, well, women have it more than men. Whatever, it's a thing.
Yeah, not all men are into it, but it seems like there's a lot of women into the rape fantasy.
They are, and it's okay. By the way, ladies, we're
not looking down on you for it,
and we're not looking to rape you either.
No,
just kind of own it. You like the hot guy who's going to grab you by the wrists and
hold you down and fuck the shit out of you.
Well, get mad. It's just a thing.
It's a sexual fantasy that the lizard brain cocks up, but in the front part you're going, no, that would actually be awful.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I fantasize about being awful. In fact, I've fantasized of being about President of the United States, and then I started reading about what their lives were like.
And it's like, oh, well, shit, that sucks.
And that's just a small example. A fantasy's fantasy. I fantasize about fuck, whatever.
All right, here, look, just take some hot supermodel or actress or Playboy
Yeah,
bunny
yeah.
and think about, boy, I'd love to fuck her, and then you
Oh,
think,
yeah. In reality, she won't have all the Hollywood makeup, so she won't be quite that hot.
yeah.
And then,
Add on that, the top of that, a lot of hot women think all they got to do is lay there because they're hot. You know.
right.
Sorry,
right.
there's not all of them are like that, but some of them are. Yeah.
Exactly, and so it's like, you don't have to have a super IQ or a big education to know fantasy is fantasy,
Yeah.
and everybody has them.
Yeah.
Everybody, and they might be weird or they might be pretty mundane. In fact, one of the fun, we just laid it out there. The most common perverted fantasy is to fantasize about being forced into sex. Actually, that's a common human fantasy.
Well, okay,
And I'm not saying every guy does or every woman does, but it's very
but
common.
yeah, there are. I would say it's a normal fantasy for most guys to fantasize about, like, let's say a group of cheerleaders just attacking him.
Sure, or the one hot teacher you had a crush on in school just comes to you one day and pins you against the blackboard and says, "Hello, son." Of course you had that fantasy or something like it. It was a fantasy, and that's all it is.
Yeah, and I've talked to guys who have done this. Okay, the threesome with two women. Every guy's fantasy, and I've had guys come up and tell me, that's a lot of fucking work.
No,
it's not as enjoyable as you think it would be.
Every guy has that fantasy, and I
Yeah.
have exactly the same experience as you. I've talked to guys who've had the two women fantasy, and they all say it just wasn't. It was like confusing and a lot of work, and
Well, okay, all right.
it was cool and it was fun, but it was kind of.
You're trying to read the signals of two women at the same time and trying to please both of them.
And they're both reading each other, so that that's like some polynomial equation. I don't want to figure it out.
From what they've told me, it's a lot of work, and it's not as much fun as what you think it would be because you're having to work so hard at it.
But let's have the wonderful fantasy.
Yes,
Hey,
absolutely.
this would be a wonderful fantasy. Two totally hot women are so into me that anything I do turns them on and makes them come. All right, now, I just said some crass fantasy, right? I have talked to some women, two of them who write porn novels, and they will tell you right now that the most popular genre of porn for women, written for women, involves two guys on one girl. It's far and away the most common form of porn that women enjoy. So guess what? That sick perverted fantasy of two women who couldn't get enough of me.
Same thing. Oh, yeah.
Plenty of women have the same goddamn fantasy, and
No. You bring that up, Dean. I watched it's not really a documentary, but like a thing on the Playboy channel. I believe this was in California. There was this porn company that women could come to, just everyday women walking off the streets, and they would be given 5 guys at the same time, and was for free as long as as the porn company got to film it. And there was women lining up to have 5 guys at the same time.
And that was the thing too. I remember it. I'm old enough. I remember feminist protests against Penthouse and Playboy magazine and all the and feminist protests of them back then. And it was always undeniable. You would see the feminist protests, and then if you looked into it on any given business day, there were women lined up around the block for a chance to pose once for Playboy to maybe get an audition with Hef.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's and you can look down on that. In fact, I actually do frown on it a little bit. I sound like such a wild liberal. I'm actually kind of an old fogey. I think that's unhealthy behavior on the women's part. But let's not deny everybody's an equal player in this equation.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Let's equal. In fact, the woman's the one with the greatest assets. So
assets.
right.
But no,
at least
seriously.
in Playboy. At least in Playboy.
Right. But let's boil it down to what it actually is. Feminists absolutely, positively hate female sexuality.
Well,
they hate it.
They seem to. And it's so funny because even when they talk about it, they're going with these exaggerated forms. Like I just talked about how every woman has a rape fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Well, not every.
Most, let's say
let's just
most.
go with most, right? And even the ones who only have it occasionally have it occasionally. Guess what? What's almost as common is the woman fantasizing about grabbing a man and making him so hot he can't, and she's just plain aggressive and fucks the shit out of him. In
Right.
fact, I've had a few sexual encounters where she was pretty much in charge of doing everything. She knew what she wanted, and she was going to get it.
Yeah.
Right, and that's okay. In fact, that's kind of hot.
Yeah, oh yeah, and it's fun to swap during
sure,
it. You know,
sure.
she's in control for a little while, then you're in control for a little while, and it's just back and forth, and it's just Katie, bar the door because we're fixing to let it all hang out. You know,
So why are we pretending this is an all-male thing? Why
why are we
doing
pretending that it's? Why are we or feminists pretending that either one is not okay?
Well, right.
Men and male and female sexuality, why are they so negative and down on it? Because they are. It's both.
And they are, and I actually do understand the conservative impulse. I actually do believe that a profligate lifestyle of randomly fucking just about anybody is probably bad for you physically, psychologically, and every other way. I do believe that. And I know some of my friends are going to be, oh, Dean's so judgmental, because some of Dean's friends are even sex workers. No, I really do think it's unhealthy. But whatever it is.
I can understand the conservative point, because if you were to get right down to it, I do not like the political labels. I'm more of somewhere in the center. But I lean a little conservative on some things, a little liberal on others. But
Most people do.
I can understand the conservatives saying this, going, look, this is very psychological, very intimate behavior, and you need to limit that to one person or at least a very small group of people.
When it comes to human sexuality, I think the most important thing that both the feminists and the political conservatives are missing, and a lot of the political liberals and whatever. I mean, everybody is who they are, but I think there is in our culture generally, everybody accepts a cheapening of male sexuality, which accepts the notion that male sexuality has no deep emotional component other than like dominance or something. We're not respecting that actually, even in males, sexuality is deep, it's moving, it's emotional, it means a lot to us. It actually isn't cheap.
No,
it actually isn't cheap. It is it is sometimes us at our most vulnerable.
Yes, it is.
So when you attack it like it's something evil, it actually fucking hurts. And stop that.
Yeah, it does. It really does, because it's an intimacy of the most intimacy that you can experience, and we're very vulnerable. You know, to be that intimate
and
with
I
someone.
know, all right, some guys listening to this and going, oh, bullshit, you know, I just...
Well...
Okay, all right, that's you. I don't think it's most guys, I really don't. And not my experience of talking to guys, and then not looking at the survey studies. I'll go, everybody's had his moment where all he wanted to do was fuck her.
Yeah,
and that's all he wanted outside. But the bottom line is, no, I think it's intimate for men. It is. Stop pretending to name.
I think men can do both.
Sure.
They can be the purely sexual. It's just basically masturbation with a partner,
right.
Or it's very emotional, very intimate. Men can do either or.
Oh, yeah.
And I may be wrong on this, but I think we do that better than women as far as being able to separate it. But I think most, like you're saying, I think most men want the intimacy.
Yeah.
Now, okay, when you're 13, when you're puberty 13 through 20, you're wanting to fuck, just want to fuck.
No. In fact, I'm going to argue with you there. No.
Okay.
Because you just said something I'm not going to accept about teenage sexuality anymore. I might have accepted that. No, actually, I think teenage boys are more emotionally vulnerable than older men are to sexual issues. I think they are.
Okay, I might go along with that, but
we forget that sometimes too.
Yeah.
We remember because we're older men and we remember being 13 and having a perpetual hard-on.
Right.
But we do forget being 13 and having our heart broken.
Okay. Oh, you got a point there. You got a
Yeah.
point there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let me back up and say this. Let me throw this at you and see what you think. During puberty, especially when it starts, the sexuality part of our brain becomes active, and it becomes actually overactive. Right.
Wow.
All right. So the emotional brain is still there and still wanting the emotional connection, but the sexuality part is in overdrive.
Oh,
so we're wanting to fuck everything.
Yeah.
For the pure sexuality part, but the emotional part is still there. It's just being in puberty, it's being overpowered.
And you know what? And that's the dirty little trick, because it's the same is true for girls too.
Oh yeah.
Girls seem to suffer from a somewhat higher rate of what we used to call frigidity or whatever. There's a little more of that, but basically no. After puberty, girls are horny as hell, and they really are. And it's the same.
I noticed this when I was in high school. High school girls, their hypergamy is in overdrive.
Yeah.
And high school boys, they're not.
Well, no.
Their polygamy, as far as she's got a nice tit,
No.
she's got a nice ass, is in overdrive.
Here you just said two more things. We should cut here soon because I'm getting tired. But
Okay.
you just said two things more I want to challenge. You
Okay.
just said a woman's hypergamy, a man's polygamy. That is a symptom to what I call the return of king, fake evil psych bullshit. If you really look into the term hypergamy, you will discover that men and women are both hypergamous. Men are just as men and women are both. Women are no more inclined to monogamy than men are. Men are
No. Yeah,
no, but let me put this up, because I've heard this. I've even had guys say this to me. You know, men are looking for as many women sexual partners as they possible, and women are looking for the right guy. I'm calling bullshit on that one, which I know will shock some people, but I really am calling bullshit on that one. No, men are hypergamous too. They are hypergamous along different axes because they are more attracted to things like skin tone, boobs, ass, physical things, and they're less attracted to things like wealth and how utilitarian they are.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really look at what men and women look for in a partner, they're looking for the exact same things. It's just that women prioritize them a little different than men do.
Okay, let me clarify what I said.
But I'm just going to say it. I'm going to repeat it. Hypergamy, males have it too.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Me and you're actually saying what I said, what I was meaning to say.
Oh, really?
Okay. That when I said women's hypergamy is an overdrive,
So are boys'.
Well, hold on.
Which is why they're looking for the hot chick and the hot teacher.
Right. Exactly. But hold on.
Yeah.
They are thinking, what kind of car does he drive? What kind of clothes does he wear?
Mm-hmm.
And fuck his personality. I don't give a shit about that. Hey, all this stuff.
That's when it's in overdrive.
In overdrive, as they
Just
become
like
older.
the boy can see nothing but the tits,
Yeah.
is in overdrive.
Right, exactly. The boys are nice tits, nice ass. I
That's
don't give a
all I
shit
see.
about her personality. That's all I see. Now, as we get older, we go, yeah, nice tits, nice ass, but what's her personality like? And women
Yeah.
are going, yeah, he's got a nice car, a lot of money, and nice clothes, but what's his personality like?
This is where I so severely fault, I really fault most of the PUA community, including the so-called rational man, the Royce, a few of those others. They're so concentrated in all their theories, and I think there's some of their theories are valid and some are not. I take big issue with some of it, but some of it I'm like, all right, no, you've got some effective flirting techniques. You've got the basics right.
Mm-hmm.
Not all PUA is wrong, but it's so hyper-focused on what evolutionarily and psychologically was supposed to be like a 5-year window of our lifetimes.
Yeah. From like 13 to 18.
So
basically.
roughly, yeah. We'll put it
roughly.
roughly in there. By the time you're 21, actually, if you look before the 20th century, by the time you were 21, you were almost certainly married with children.
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
And that becomes a whole different psychological dynamic completely, and it goes into that natural family structure I was just describing,
Mm-hmm.
which they're all dismissing with these ideas that all men just want to fuck as many women as they can. and they've gotten into this, what is basically a real primitive psychology of who we are as human beings. And what I'm describing as the natural family structure is actually, again, it's cross-cultural, it's everywhere. Nobody had to teach you how to do it. It's built into your genes. You're supposed to function this way. And yes, there's always the odd outliers. For genetic or whatever reasons, they wind up gay, or they wind up, not being able to maintain a stable relationship. Nothing, all that dysfunction is part of life, but the overriding pack structure, the family structure, is what we just described. And it's what everybody knows, because nobody had to fucking teach you.
But so me and you were on the same page there. It was just a terminology difference. But yeah, it's when we get older, and I think women do this. They when they get older, they're more worried about his personality than they are how much money he's got. Because let me tell you something: if my wife was only with me for how much money I've got, she'd have been gone a long damn time ago.
Well, that's right. And that's why it bothers me some in the MGTOW sphere will act like women's hypergamy, which is a thing, is the only thing there is about them.
Yeah. No.
Huh?
Yeah.
And like the minute she has a better opportunity, she'll go. Just as if you're a man with a girlfriend, the instant you have an opportunity to pursue a chick, you will automatically take it. What?
No.
No, that could happen, I suppose. I mean, yeah, okay, some hot chick could try and win me away from my wife. I'll tell you now, it wouldn't work
with me.
No, maybe if I was 21 and more shallow. I don't know. But no, it's never that simple. Never.
No, that's just oversimplified. And then not even just oversimplified, it's wrong. And
it's but not because the Bible said so, but because it's wrong.
Yeah.
You don't you have an intimate relationship with a girl and you even get her pregnant. Did somebody have to tell you that it was wrong to just walk away and abandon them? No, nobody had to tell you that. You knew that.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And every mom knows, I'm not supposed to leave the baby and just walk away for 10 hours.
Right.
Well, no, all of those things happen because there are guys and girls like that. But most of what I'm describing is just built in. We know it. We're built in. We're all knowing it.
Yeah. I mean, there's women who give their babies up for adoption and regret it the rest of their lives.
Sure, and then there are women who dump their babies in dumpsters. And then it's over, and because they want to erase it and forget it never happened. And there's guys who get a girl pregnant and just freak out so bad they run and never own up to it. That does happen.
Yeah.
But you're
we're talking about we're not talking about normal people. We're talking about healthy people. There's something wrong.
Healthy people, a father would not abandon his child. It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's not his culture. That's our biology.
Yeah.
I'm telling you flat out it is.
And now we've got these guys that are having to make a decision. Do I stay in this abusive relationship with this woman or do I leave my child?
I have talked to more than one of the men who's been in the position of having to stay with an abusive mother because he knew he was the only thing protecting the child.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah,
and
I'll tell you what, Dean, let's wrap it up here because you're getting tired and I need another beer.
All right, thank you, Jack Barnes. See you later,
man.
everybody.
We're on our little MRA meeting of the patriarchy in our secret mountain.
We're coming for you, ladies.
Base.
We're taking you over.
Yes, we're going to oppress you by not paying for your tampons.
That's right.
Take it easy, everybody.